You're listening to Sophie and Sebastian, and in this episode, you'll hear a story about how Sophie challenges Sebastian to a race to see who is faster. Do you think they'll play fair? Let's find out. This story is called The Great Race. Sebastian was super fast. He won every race. He was always the first in bed, and he was the first in line at snack time. And when he cried, "I have to pee," Dad would say, "I'll race you." And Sebastian would get to the bathroom first. Dad usually ran into a door or ended up in a bedroom. To celebrate, Sebastian would kiss the bathroom wall and shout, "I won! I won! You're never gonna win." But Sophie had some questions. She thought that either Sebastian was cheating or some people were not doing their best. So one day, Sophie challenged Sebastian to a race. It was summertime. The grass was dry, the flowers were wilting, and little cracks had opened up in the soil. Sophie and Sebastian were playing in the shade of the elm trees on the side of the road. Everyone else, even the tiniest bugs, were hiding in their houses. "Sebastian," said Sophie, "do you want to have a race?" Right away, Sebastian jumped up and ran towards the house. Sebastian knew that the trick to winning is to get a head start. Then find out where the finish line will be, and then keep going and going until you have won, and then you can stop. "Stop!" yelled Sophie. "I mean a bike race." "Oh, okay," said Sebastian. So they fetched their bikes. Sebastian rode a tricycle. Sophie had a pink bike with a basket, a bell, and training wheels. Sophie often had to explain to people that she didn't need the training wheels. Dad was just too lazy to take them off. When they got their bikes, Sophie used a piece of chalk to draw a line on the sidewalk. "This is the start and the finish," she said. "When I say get ready, set, go, then you're allowed to go. We'll go around Bert and Fran's house, then all the way to the end of the block, and then we'll come back on the other side of the houses." Sebastian understood, but Sophie was not done. "The only exception," she said, "is that you have to go one way and I will go the other way. That way you can't scoot in front of me all the time sometimes." Sebastian was confused, but he knew where he was going, and he didn't ask any questions. "Okay," said Sophie, "take your places." She took a toy gun out of her basket and pointed it at the sky. "Get ready, set, go!" Sebastian was gone. Sophie had a slower start. She first had to put the gun back in the basket, beside the medal for the winner, and the flag that she planned to wave when she crossed the finish line. It wasn't fair that she had to be the referee. Now she was already behind. "See you soon, big baboon," shouted Sophie as she headed off in the opposite direction. Sebastian yelled back, "In a pile, crocodile!" He was enjoying the speed of his trike and the way the path sloped down in the shade of the houses, and the blur of his pedals spinning faster and faster until his legs couldn't catch up and all he could do was hold them high in the air while his trike rolled on, skidded on some gravel at the bottom, and came to a stop in a patch of grass. Sebastian was not worried. He backed up and sped away like a pulled-back race car. In the meantime, Sophie was making up for lost time. She stood up on her bike so she could push down harder on the pedals. The path stretched out in front of her, bright and blazing hot. What was annoying was the song stuck in her head. Somebody was singing, "Row, row, row your boat." That makes no sense, she thought. So she tried to make up a new song. First she sang, Pedal, pedal to the metal. Time to beat that boy who is starting to annoy me. But that didn't sound quite right. So then she tried, faster, faster, try get past her. Oh, my little man, I don't think you can. But that too wasn't much of a song, and Sophie decided that she had to focus on the race. She passed her friend Jasmine's house, and pretty soon the first corner was coming up. Good thing Sebastian wasn't in her way. It was a clever idea, she thought, this going in opposite ways. Sebastian had a sneaky habit of sneaking in front. At that very moment, Sebastian was going down the long straight stretch on the other side of the houses. Across the road from him, some workermen were cutting down a tree. They had chainsaws and ropes and orange vests and pylons. There was even a bucket truck with a neck like a giraffe. Wood chips were flying everywhere. Too bad Sebastian couldn't stop. He wanted to watch, but he also wanted to win the race. Still, Sebastian kept looking back at the workermen. He didn't even notice the sprinkler watering the sidewalk in front of him. Luckily, Sebastian only felt a few drops. As he biked past, the water formed an arch above him. Now it was almost time to make another turn. Sophie, meanwhile, was racing down the path between the houses. She was nearly at the second corner. But she couldn't see around it. A thick hedge was in the way. Sophie wondered where Sebastian would be by now. If he was as fast as her, then he would have gone around one corner already. And that would mean... Sophie tried to think. She was almost at the second corner, so what about Sebastian? He couldn't be as fast as her, because she was way older, and her bike was bigger, and much prettier. Where could he be? It was hard to figure these things out and bike at the same time. She so badly wanted to beat that little boy. Sophie had almost reached the corner. She could hear the hum of the chainsaws and the tsk-tsk-tsk of the sprinkler. She thought of ringing her bell, but when you're going super fast, it takes all your effort to keep your bike from going wobbly. Where could Sebastian be? Sophie gave up trying to figure it out. The question floated out of her mind like a balloon. And so Sophie went around the corner at full speed. As she came around the corner, she saw Sebastian. Oh no, there he was! Sophie tried to avoid him. She slammed on her brakes. She turned her front wheel. She didn't want to crash. But it was too late. Sebastian slammed into one of her training wheels, and Sophie lost her balance. There was no time to stop herself from falling. She landed on her side on the sidewalk. Ouch! That hurt. First, Sophie screamed and cried for a while. Then she got angry. Sebastian Gabriel, she shouted. You are such a meanie pants. Look at what you've done. Sebastian looked. He could see that Sophie had scraped her arm. He wondered if the race was over. I'm not a meanie pants, he shouted. Look, I'm wearing shorts, so there. Well, it was still your fault, said Sophie. It was not my fault, Sebastian said. I was watching the workermen. They're cutting down all the trees. Sebastian, you're supposed to watch out for me. I'm going to tell Mum what you did. No, said Sebastian, I will. Then off they went, again in opposite directions, to tell Mum their side of the story. But Sophie did not go very fast. Her arm was hurting, and first she had to wait for the sprinkler to stop watering the sidewalk. As she biked, she made up a list of complaints to tell Mum. First, she thought, Sebastian cheats, and he gets in the way. Also, Sebastian cannot concentrate. He is always looking in the wrong direction. And one more thing, if Dad had taken off my training wheels, none of this would have happened in the first place. Sophie passed the workermen who were making way too much noise. Then she turned to go up the path heading home. When Sophie was almost home, she saw Sebastian cut across the lawn and go straight to the house to tell Mum what had happened. It just wasn't fair. She was the one who got hurt and she didn't even get to tell Mum the story. Why did Sebastian always have to win? Then it hit her. She had forgotten something important. Sebastian had too, but it wasn't too late to do something about it. Sophie pedaled a little faster. A few seconds later, Mum and Sebastian came outside, in time to watch something amazing. Sophie was going to win the race. There was the finish line, and Sophie was the first to cross it. "I won! I won!" she shouted. She waved her flag in the air. Then she ran to Mum and Sebastian. "Here, Mum," she said, "you have to put the medal around my neck." But Sebastian shouted, "You didn't win! I got home first." "Not true," yelled Sophie. "I crossed the finish line first, and that's all that counts." "Oh, kids," said Mum, "why don't we call it a tie?" "It's not a tie, Mum," said Sophie. "I'm the referee, and I say that I won, so there." But it wasn't done there. Sophie and Sebastian kept arguing about who won. Sophie said that it was Sebastian's fault for not concentrating better, and Sebastian said that Sophie was trying to cheat. Finally, Mum said that they could watch a movie, and then all the trouble went away, because a movie is like a Band-Aid. It makes you forget that you were sore, and all you want to do is look at the pretty picture instead. So that's what they did. But Sophie didn't really forget, because for a long time afterwards she liked to tell people that you don't have to be the fastest to win a race. You just have to be smarter. Thanks for listening to Sophie and Sebastian. Hope you'll join us next time.